Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, June 3rd City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Schultz.
Here.
Latta.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Hawbaker.
Here.
Ganfield.
Here.
Chrisman.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
All members present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I actually skipped calling this meeting to order, so. And apologize to everyone that's watching online that we're a few minutes being late started. We usually try not to do that, but we had a long work session earlier, so appreciate you being patient with us.
Are you?
So we will now stand, if able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Denny. Thank you, everyone. So I'll now look for approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of May 20th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any agenda revisions?
I have no agenda revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And just one thing I wanted to say quick, as an announcement. I know since I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting, I know Ms. Sherwood did come to speak on some of her concerns with that situation. I have been discussing with her and working with our insurance company. Fortunately, nothing in government moves quickly. That is something we are still working on, though. It's an ongoing conversation, so apologize I wasn't able to be here to address some of the comments, but that is something we are still working on, so thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll now move on to public forum. So speakers will have one opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes on topics relevant to city business. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak tonight? Just name and city, please.
Yep, Rick Sharp, 1623 Birch Street, Cedar Falls. So the question I'm going to ask the council to take under consideration is to reevaluate the yard waste pickup fees. It's a $10 a barrel. Based on my surveys through the internets, local cities around the state of Iowa are far cheaper than Cedar Falls. For comparison, I'm going to use our neighbor Waterloo. They charge $48 a year, basically $4 a month. They pick up twice a month on their garbage day. They pick up between April and November. I looked at Cedar Rapids. They have free yard waste pickup. Each house is assigned 3 different barrels. One's called Yardy for yard waste, one's called Kirby for recycling, and one called Garbage for garbage. So again, they don't charge the residents at all. Marion, free biodegradable bags, and they put the sticks in a bundle, free pickup. Mason City, again, free leaves in a bag pickup, sticks are in a bundle. Dubuque, 65-gallon cart, $10 a month, or you can use your own 35-gallon container with either the single-use sticker of $1.50 pickup or the annual yard waste decal of $40. And finally, Fort Dodge, in comparison, I was trying to get a wide snapshot of comparable cities. Paper bags and bundles, branches bundled with stickers attached, 75 cents a sticker. Those cities have the same costs we do. They have manpower costs, they have fuel costs, they have travel costs. There's no reason why the city of Cedar Falls has to charge $10 for each pickup. Reason I'm asking, because I'm not the only one. We have a lot of trees in this town. We do pride ourselves on Tree City. When we do have those storms, and that's something that I'd like to also look into, is storm damage pickup. A lot of communities do offer, hey, storm damage, we'll pick up for free. We don't. Also with the Monday pickups, a lot of communities say, hey, Monday's a holiday, leave pickups the next day. We don't. We should do that. I know I'm not the only one in my neighborhood that had a bunch of leaves and branches picked up from the previous storm prior to Memorial Day weekend. And guess what? I'm like three barrel pickups behind, so CF will be making $30 off of me. Well, you know, if I live in Waterloo, I could easily get that. So I would like to have you guys do your homework. I mean, you can direct staff, but the internet's right there. Trust but verify. And let's reevaluate our costs. Because to me, if based on what our comparables are doing, especially our sister city, Waterloo, they're getting the job done a lot cheaper and more bang for the buck for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp.
I'd note that we do have a free leaf and limb drop-off, right, Mr. Heath?
I'm going to interject. The other cities do too.
Any other public comment for tonight? much. Name and city, please.
David Spreitzer, Cedar Falls, Iowa. Just a couple questions. We had a city tree, it was in the easement, come down on a partial of our fence. And we had two guys, your arborists, come out and they cleaned it up. I called the city and I was very amazed at how fast and clean these two guys did. Super, super nice. I was told, and I'm hoping Mr. Gaines and Colleen down at your city hall here are telling me the truth, that there's going to be some classes or teaching for all three people. Told us that the city would also take care of our fence. Because I said, well, you guys did a great job. I need to go inside and call my insurance company. Oh, you don't have to do that. Call Colleen, fill out the claim forms. The city will take care of it. I get a letter from Travelers. As a result of our investigation, we have determined that there was a lack of notice or complaint regarding the subject tree. I talked to Eric at Travelers, and he says, since we did not call the city and say, it looks like our tree is dying, which the two arborists could not even tell until they looked up where the limb came down, half the tree came down in a high windstorm. They said we would have never known either. But your insurance guy says the citizens of Cedar Falls should know how to determine if a tree is dying. And I'd like to know how, or is the city of Cedar Falls going to start giving classes for its citizens, since the arborists are only two people to go around for hundreds, maybe 1,000 trees and say that one's dead, that one's not, that one's dead. They looked at the tree and they even both said, and Brent came out, who's I guess their boss, and he said, looking at that tree, we would have never known, except for now we've seen it. We got a stump in the yard of the grass. They're supposed to come out and take care of that someday. I don't know when. But I would give, your workers, I would give them an A+. Your insurance guy with Travelers, I'd give him like a 3F minus, because the guy got really smart ass on the phone with me and saying, my main concern is not Cedar Falls, it's Travelers Insurance. And I'm like, what? I was in the corporate world for 35 years. I've never heard that. So I'd just like to know, where can I go get my classes so I can drive around maybe helping the neighbors and say, hey, you better call. Tell the city that's a dead tree. Even though it's got green leaves on it, it's a dead tree. Because according to the insurance, that's now the citizens, we have to do it. So this happened back in 4/16 of 2024, and now I'm going through our home insurance, which originally I thought I would have done. Originally the fence would have been all fixed. It's just taken a little bit longer. Of course, I could probably write a check and say, here, fix my fence, and then fight with the insurance. But your insurance, they're just taking their sweet time, so I would never have Travelers or Eric. So I just thought I'd pass it on. Mr. Gaines, I do acknowledge we had a great conversation, but I'd like to know what kind of teachings are going to happen with your employees that they should not. I mean, in the corporate world, if I had any employee come up and say, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of it. Companies don't do that. But your employees did. They told us, City of Cedar Falls will take care of everything. And I can guarantee you, I bet if I go down there and ask Colleen, what kind of classes are your employees getting? She'll probably say, we haven't even looked into it yet. Because I don't think it's that big of a deal. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spritzer. Anyone else for public comment? Name and city, please.
Hi, folks. Bob Manning in Cedar Falls. Let me start my timer because I think Kim always cuts me off about 10 seconds early. I just participated in the committee of the whole that started at 5:25. And there's so many positive things happening here in Cedar Falls. It's very refreshing to see that and the plans that have been made in a relatively short period of time. We must be at about the 100-day mark, I would imagine, and so it's time to write a book, perhaps, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, there have been some problems that have surfaced of recent, and I asked the city fathers and had to file a Freedom of Information Act to obtain some information. I've talked about some properties in Cedar Falls that were in disrepair. And unfortunately, the city concluded that also. And it includes property at 802 and 804 West 28th Street. It includes property at 802, 804 West 28th Street. It includes property at 808 West 24th Street.
One sec, Bob.
It includes property at 813 and 815 West 28th Street. And the problems that are noted in a letter say that city staff noticed that your property at 802 and 804 West 28th Street has been deemed to be in violation of Cedar Falls City Ordinance, Section 15-2, 31A through M. All buildings and properties in Cedar Falls must meet minimum maintenance standards. Deteriorated or poorly maintained properties have a negative impact on the properties in the neighborhood. The following things were cited on all of these properties. I'll read the first one only to save some time. The following deficiencies.
Bob, just really quick, and just to make sure we keep it on point, just make sure there's some sort of request or sort of specific thing you're working toward.
Yep, absolutely. So the following deficiencies have been observed. The siding material must be repaired or replaced. The exterior trim and exposed surface must be repaired and repainted. Window has been taken out, must be covered in siding material. Patches are not allowed. This violates codes A through M, as we said. A reads, Section 15, the roof and roofing material are of such a nature and condition that they do not permit water, snow, or ice to penetrate into the structure. This is an objection. This is something that was cited by the city as a violation of city ordinances. Item B, drainage gutters and downspouts need to be securely attached to the structure and in proper working form. Item C, all exterior, and this is on just this property. Item C says that all exterior trim and exterior exposed surfaces, including siding materials, must be sound, in good condition, and securely attached to the structure. Item D, exterior walls must be free of holes and made of consistent material, such as patches and repairs. This one really blew my mind. All points of egress and ingress into and out of the structure must be of a secure and safe design and made for standard building materials, and also must provide clear and easy access via properly installed steps, porches, entryway, landings, and handrails that are intact. I could go on, but in the view of time, I don't want to do that. But there are 13 violations at this particular property. And these are all available for public review, should you choose to do that. 802 and 804 has the same 13 violations against that. The city 808, the same. And I could go on and have all the documentation to support that. Unfortunately, the worst part is that the property at 2516
1 minute remaining.
College Street has been completed, and the property inspection failed. This is the house across from the president of the University of Northern Iowa. I mean, how does that represent our city to incoming students and their parents? And I'm just thoroughly appalled that this individual can do these type of things. I would request that either he resign and attempt to fix these properties and to be a good citizen, or that the council ask him to resign,
It is time, Mr. Mayor.
because this is an affront to the citizens of Cedar Falls. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers tonight for public comment? Just name and city, please.
Hi, Kim Jordan Jensen, and I'm from Cedar Falls. I am here again on behalf of Sartori Hospital, acting as a private citizen and concerned that we are in jeopardy of losing that facility. It was a gifted location, and it has all the legal standings of how it was supposed to be and was intended always to be in the sector of a private hospital. When we don't stick to those guidelines, we lose the opportunity to maintain the things like what we are talking about right now with maintenance. I would say priority, and this is one of my biggest concerns and what brings me almost every week to this chamber. Asking to be part of a community where you can come in and help decide what's going to happen with that building and not getting any reach out. Mr. Mayor did reach out after a couple weeks, and I totally understand, so I appreciate that follow-up. We have not fulfilled any of the more recent years' budgeting money towards that hospital. It was given and gifted, and this is a book that was written as a legacy and history, and I always feel like the teacher of me comes out, because there's 74% of the people in this community that would rather go to Unity Point. And we have a gem at 515 College Street that is sitting on 15 acres, and it's underused. It's currently at 20 beds. It was built in 1914 at 30 beds. So we're regressing instead of progressing. When this was gifted by the son of Teresa and Joseph Sartori, and she was a women's club member here, very active in the community and very wanting things to be better for the future. Upon the following terms and conditions, the said hospital building should be constructed in the city of Cedar Falls at a suitable site, completed within a reasonable time thereafter. Sometimes I don't think we give therefore and a reasonable time to people, especially when we have lots of projects going on. The said hospital is called Sartori Hospital. A suitable that said building shall be owned and perpetually maintained by the city as a public hospital. Maintained. Nowhere in these budgets over the last few years that we've done the Richard McAllister update to this building, the river project, any of our road constructions, has there been even a little bit of thought as to what should be done to that hospital? It's not the tenant that's sitting there as we are the lease and collecting the rent. It's on us to be aware of these things. A punch list by board members should be held at every of the 4 different meetings that we have. And I can just go through and I can tick off about at least 15 to 20 that would make a very high top priority. There was a gift of $20,000 that then followed by the family to give $1,000 for 20 years for maintenance. So it was very clearly laid out that this was intended to always be held. It was also suggested, and this is where I haven't really shown all of this. Okay. The reason is with the property set up the way it is, there is land use that could be set up that would kind of fall within some of this that they are explaining, that it is suitable for reasonable provisions for care of the needy, poor, and who may require the services of a hospital and are unable to pay the regular hospital fees and expenses. But it's the purpose of the public nature to be held to the accountable means of people on our watch. And I guess I'm coming forward saying when in 1996 we had an opportunity to stand ground and keep that as a private hospital, we let it go. And we had a reputable healthcare system that it would be wonderful to entertain them coming back. But I'm not representing any hospital system. I have a strong indication of who I would want. And the fact of the matter is, I think that there has to be people standing up asking for a community vote because we're protecting everything to the west of us. We have New Hartford, Applington, Ackley, New Hartford, Clarksville. The very first patient that walked through those doors was a woman from Clarksville. She was suffering from an appendix.
Or a time, if you...
She survived. That hospital can survive if we pay attention to it. And we have done a very poor job at this point. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment tonight? Just name and city, please.
Mike Butler, 1022 Washington, what I call the inner city. Many, many years ago, at least a couple of decades back, we renamed the Main Street Bridge to the Robert J. Hibbs Bridge. Bob Hibbs was a UNI graduate that went to Vietnam as a second lieutenant, was very brave, died in action there, and was awarded the Medal of Honor. So it was very meaningful. And we've gone a long time with two little signs on it that say Robert J. Hibbs, and occasionally we're able to put a wreath on it. This year we put 4 brackets on the end of the bridge on the light poles, thanks to the city and to CFU, and Nagel Sign, of course, who actually did the work. And then what I call pole number 3 has Robert Hibbs banners on it, and the other 4 are and will be designated for those who would like loved ones to be on those banners. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We appreciate the support. We went out, in spite of a bunch of old GIs that didn't believe we could do it, raised the money, got Nagel and Sign involved, got the city involved, who said, no, you can't do this. You got to have a little more help than that. But thankfully, I think it looks very good. The darn flags get twisted up a little bit, but CFU came on the Saturday after we got done of Memorial Day, changed out lights to make sure it looks good. So I would appreciate anyone driving across and acknowledging the brave people that are on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike, and to all you guys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Beller. That's on the Main Street Bridge, you said? That's right on the Main Street Bridge?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't miss it if you drive across the bridge.
Anyone else for public comment tonight? All right, seeing none, we will now move on to old business, or excuse me, staff updates. Stephanie, I believe we have.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just want to remind the community that coming on June 14th, the Historic Preservation Commission, in partnership with the North Cedar neighborhood, is doing a a little listening and learning lesson, session, I should say, and tour to learn about the history and experiences of living in northern Cedar Falls. So we invite you to attend that. It's 5:30 on June 14th. It'll be at the Island Park Beach House at 5:30, I said. The location, if we have flooding happening, unfortunately on and off, that has been happening, the alternative location will be City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sheets. Any other, Ron, do we have any other updates? All right, moving on to old business, we will go on to item number 2, pass ordinance number 3059, amending the zoning map by removing real estate located at 2300 Main Street from N1 Light Industrial District to C2 Commercial District upon its second consideration.
So moved.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please. So all those, wait, that's roll call, that's on there. Yep. Trying to jump ahead of myself. That's why I have you, Kim.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 3, pass ordinance number 3060, vacating certain public right-of-way of an alley between Longview Street and Cedar Street upon its second consideration. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. And again, just a reminder for everyone watching, we have a lot of ordinance on here that we've been cleaning up our policy once a year, or once every 5 years we do, so thanks for putting through with this.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 4, pass ordinance number 3061, amending Chapter 1, general provisions of the Code of Ordinances relative to the general penalty for simple misdemeanors upon its second consideration. Move a motion.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 5, pass ordinance number 3062, amending Chapter 2, administration of the Code of Ordinances relative to approval of bills and claims against the city upon its second consideration. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? And any discussion from the community? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 6, pass ordinance number 3063, amending Chapter 5, alcoholic and malt beverages of the Code of Ordinances relative to location and operation generally, and Chapter 17, parks and recreation of the Code of Ordinances relative to noxious weeds, prohibited exceptions upon its second consideration. Motion?
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? And any discussion from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 7, pass ordinance number 3064, amending Chapter 10, garbage and refuse of the Code of Ordinances relative to the use of city collection service upon its second consideration. Motion to approve?
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 8, pass ordinance number 3065, amending Chapter 16, offenses and miscellaneous provisions of the Code of Ordinances relative to disorderly conduct, generally upon its second consideration. Motion
So
to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? And any from public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 9, pass ordinance number 3066, amending Chapter 18, planning of the Code of Ordinances relative to power and duties upon its second consideration. Motion and second.
Second.
Any discussion? And any from the community? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 10, pass ordinance number 3067, amending Chapter 23, traffic and motor vehicles of the Code of Ordinances relative to general passing upon its second consideration. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
And second, any discussion? And any from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. So the following items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. I'm going to poll item number 13. And then are there any requests for items on the consent calendar to be considered separately from council?
Number 11, please.
11. Anyone else from council? And any requests from the public? All right, seeing none, we will look for then an approval to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item number 11 and 13.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion from council? Discussion from public? Seeing none, we require voice votes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, move on to item number 11. So to approve the following recommendations of the mayor relative to the appointment of members to boards and commissions. Gerald Swartzen, Board of Adjustment, Brian Bowman, Parks and Recreation, Claire Struck with Parks and Recreation, Annie Googler with Tourism Board, and Michelle Jensen with Tourism Board. Hannah, any comments?
I just wanted to thank all of these wonderful volunteers for taking the time to volunteer. And if anyone is interested in joining one of our boards and commissions, you can find that information on the Cedar Falls website.
Thank you, Hannah. And I forgot to ask for the motion first before.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Thank you for the discussion. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? All right, seeing none, voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Move to item number 13, approve the application of J&M Displays Incorporated for a fireworks display permit for June 27, 2024. So I wanted to put this on here. I apologize. I should have put a memo.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Motion and seconded. So again, I apologize. I should have put a memo with this. So this is from some earlier discussions we've had around fireworks. We've been working the last couple months to look at how can we bring back a city firework display. So this came up in conversations and also with you and I. We got to talking with them. The fireworks used to be held on the backside of the Unidome. I believe it was the JCs that used to do the annual fireworks. You and I was very interested in partnering to bring back the city fireworks show, so they've been working on helping coordinate logistics, if we can use the space back there, working with the facilities. They're also going to be sponsoring the event now, but also interested in being a partner going forward. And so this specifically here is for the display permit. I know we've got the actual contract and the future part, but wanted to open up if there was any discussion now on this piece since it's first in the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I can recall back to goal setting where we all had a smile and a laugh over this topic, thinking maybe we'd get here, maybe we wouldn't. So I would just commend you and your efforts in trying to celebrate this and get it moved forward. It's been a long time since we've had a community fireworks display in this town, and that gives me a lot of pride that we were able to get that accomplished. So well done. Thank you.
And some background on that, the reason for the June 27th date, obviously talking to fireworks companies midway through the year, they've already booked for 4th of July. And so working with Sturgis and talking with them about their plans, we figured it'd be a good chance to do kind of an unofficial kickoff to Sturgis. This isn't related to Sturgis, but we would do that the Thursday just before Sturgis kicks off, probably right around 9 o'clock whenever dark hits. We'd open up all the parking lots. The grass lots would be open for people to be able to come out, set out their lawn chairs, blankets, everything with that. I can get into this more in the contract, but this would be, the intent is to not be an expense on the city. I'm working on raising sponsorship dollars and committing to make sure that it's not an expense for the city. And so we can get into that in the contract discussion, but any other comments or questions right now?
So you say this is going to be behind the dome, or is it going to be on the Sturgis ground somewhere?
So it'll be behind the dome.
Okay.
So it'll be back, shot off, right behind, kind of right between where the Cedar Falls, the new high school is. There's that dirt road that goes back there. It'd be shot off from the dirt road and be able to sit in the soccer fields.
So, Mr. Mayor, again, to the other comments on commending you for this, just for reiterate, vendors for food or things, that is not going to be a part of this year, correct? Or is there still some thoughts on that?
correct this year, just with timing. We just wanted to make sure we do a really good fireworks show. We worked with J&M to make sure that the budget you'll see in the contract for anyone who's watching is set at $15,000. That was working with J&M to say, okay, what does it take to really put on a good fireworks show? We'd be partnering with you and I. There'd be some purple and gold worked in there to make sure we're giving some homage to their involvement. And so for this year, it's just kind of getting it there so we can have a good fireworks show for the community. And then in future years, I think we'd look to put together more of a formal planning group and have more of an event with it. Any other discussion from council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, requires a voice vote. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And motion carries. Now move on to the resolution calendar. So the following items will be acted upon by a roll call vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
number 18.
Mr. Mayor, number 21 and 28, please.
21 and
28.
28.
Mr. Mayor, 22, please.
And 22. So we've got 18, 21, 22, and 28. Any other from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? All right, also seeing none, we'll look then for a motion to approve items 17 through 40, excluding items 18, 21, 22, and 28.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any council discussion? Or any from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So item number 18, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a fireworks display agreement with J&M Displays Incorporated relative to the fireworks display on June 27th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and seconded. And
Okay, so the reason I saved my concerns from not the item number with the approving, as in 13, I'm not anti-fireworks. I'm excited to have a display. My concern, and first I should say, I too am very grateful for the work that you've done, Mayor. And I know that you've gone above and beyond. I appreciate your communication to help make things in Overman Park continue. I also appreciate all the work that the citizens who help put on, and not just citizens, anyone who helps put on Cedar Basin and Sturgis Falls. So my concerns are not with the beautiful community events. My concerns are, first of all, with communication. We did talk about this at goal setting. As we all know, goal setting is lots of things that you talk about, and you look for a consensus. And typically, when you have some consensus, you also have some conversation and not just a blank contract put on the agenda. So I think we've kind of already addressed that, but if I sound a little frustrated, that is very frustrating for me. Second of all, this has been a conversation, not just for this council. This has been brought up in different times that I've been a part of this body since 2020. And again, it's not the not wanting to have a fireworks display, but it's also in putting the city dollars into play. And I understand we've got sponsors, but according to the contract is with the city of Cedar Falls, not with individuals. So another thing that I think I've learned since sitting on this body, and this isn't against anyone who's going to be maybe making a donation, but sometimes donations don't come through. So no matter what, the city of Cedar Falls is on the hook for it. And, you know, sometimes I get kind of confused because we have budget conversations, and sometimes I hear, well, that's $15,000. That's so much money. And then sometimes it's like, well, it's only $15,000. So forgive me if I'm kind of confused as to when $15,000 is too much or too little, but that's a concern. Also, putting the city in, I guess I should ask, and I don't recall, and I may not be recalling correctly, to staff, do you recall a time where the city, even when we had fireworks displays before, was the city besides maybe helping with, traffic control and maybe logistics that sometimes, Public Works and folks help with when we have big events, has there been a time where the city has been the person, directly, the entity directly involved in putting it on, even with the sponsorships, or the time where the city has been on the hook for possibly paying for fireworks?
So I can't answer the first part of that of if city's been part of the ones helping put it on. I'm sure in some way, shape, or form, city staff has been, whether it's public safety or public works, may have helped in some. I don't recall city funds being spent on fireworks.
Okay.
I don't know if Jen has.
And obviously, I'm just one of 7, but this is a conversation, since there was no explanation in the packet, I want to make sure we're having this conversation. So I guess, and as far as coordination of the event, is it our public safety or you and I's public safety, or who will be making sure cars get in and out, or who? And Mayor, I know I asked you some of this. I don't mean to make you. I just wanted, for public sake, them to know who's picking up garbage, those kinds of things. So, not to hate on fireworks, but I do have a concern with us putting ourselves, and also this is a big concern. At what point, and I realize you just said it's not related to Sturgis, but it kind of is. I mean, it's coordinating with Sturgis Falls and Cedar Basin. How do we not make sure we don't play favorites? So we're doing this at the same time as this celebration. So even though it's not with it, it kind of seems like it's with it. We have other great community celebrations that, what if they were to come and ask? And I know maybe there wasn't an ask, but I just want to make sure we are not setting a precedent to put ourselves in a bad place. So that's it. Very grateful for all the work. Just kind of frustrated that we, went from where it was mentioned, a little brief talking about and casual passing, to this.
And I can just, if everyone's okay with, I'll just run through some of those items. So you are correct, and it is a financial exposure to the city of the $15,000. So I know I'm personally making that commitment. We're going to raise the sponsorships, but at the same time, I know that's not me signing a contract saying that there will be no expense to the city. I know we've already raised about, I think, $7,500. Waiting to hear back. We've asked kind of the normal sponsors. We've gotten really good response from people reaching out. So I'm not concerned about it, but that you are correct that it is a financial exposure to the city for that $15,000, because it is a contract with us for the fireworks. And that is different. I know this, working with staff on it, this is one of the few times we've actually done an event. We did work very closely with Attorney Rogers and Colleen to make sure the contract was solid, that it fits everything we needed to see and make sure we were happy with. On the piece about the city running the event and the logistics, we have been working with UNI. Public Safety's talked with their safety team to make sure that they're comfortable with the traffic management. They said they'd have their team there managing some of the grounds, and our team as well would probably assist, kind of like for some of the sporting events that they hold out there. UNI is also committed to opening up some of the McLeod Center for bathroom facilities if there's an emergency and someone needs a space to go into. And they've also committed to helping with all the cleanup the next day and having some of their teams, especially since it's their facilities. That was one concern they had, was just making sure that everything gets picked up. And then we'll have everything barricaded off for where the fireworks will be being shot from. And so I apologize for that. I should have included the memo with some of the background details. I know I've loosely kept everyone kind of up to date on it. I know it was something we loosely talked about at goal setting, but I did kind of commit I'd run with it, but I should have had more detail kind of sit down in advance of it.
May I ask one more question? Is this something we're planning to, this, to me, this should be budgeted, not just and I know, okay, yes, the sponsorships, but what if it's not? This should be budgeted, and I know this is the first year, but is this something that council is wanting to continue every year? And if so, there needs to be a different conversation that happens. Anyway, that's.
And I do plan, going forward, I would plan that we would make this, actually have some team that works on planning it, that there's a lot more direction with the planning that goes into it. This was really just trying to get a fireworks show going for this year.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask? I have a question related to Councilmember Dunn's, I think. In looking at the contract again, subsection 3, it says pursuant to buyer status in the loyalty program. The prior subsection talks about the buyer's been provided copies of the loyalty program. It's available at their website, so I looked that up. The box is checked 15%. According to the website, at least as I read it, it's 5% for the first year, 10% for the second year, 15% for the third year. So I'm wondering, can this be read as a commitment to 3 years?
And I can answer, I think because Community Main Street works with them for their fireworks show, I think they included us as kind of a longer-term loyalty customer since there's already a community event that we host here, different entity. But so they included us just as a loyalty customer. Okay. So we do get the 15% additional for that.
Okay.
But there is no long-term commitment in this contract.
Fair enough.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I appreciate, as members spoke during the permitting discussion, I appreciate all the effort that you've done in collaborating to get this off the ground. There's certainly a lot of conversations that happen behind the scenes, and I appreciate your efforts in keeping everybody apprised of the progress on this. I know we did discuss it at goal setting. I was a proponent of it then, and I'm still now. I don't think this is a threat. I think this is going to be a source of civic pride. I think the collaboration with Sturgis will be kind of neat this year, but I'd love to see it go forward if it's feasible and it makes sense to what we're trying to do as part of a larger celebration. So I agree with Councilmember Dunn that we should budget for this going forward and have those larger discussions. I guess, time of the essence. You hire a new mayor and you expect him to have last year's budgeting done within the first 6 months is kind of unfair. So I've heard a personal commitment to raising funds here. I've already been working on raising some funding through donors and sponsorships as well. So I think this is going to be a great thing. It's going to be a fantastic source of pride. We're going to enjoy the night. Yes, we're going to be on the hook with volunteer help to clean up afterwards. It's in the contract. It says right there that we also need to provide adequate policing. So we are assigning our people extra hours. We are assigning persons to assist in the inspection and cleanup afterwards. I think that's in the contract for a reason. It's got to be done. I think we do it well if we have any chance of it happening next year. So I take that as a challenge to meet. So I hope that others that enjoy this show would participate in that volunteer effort.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Schultz.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I wasn't as ecstatic about the opportunity to have fireworks as Dustin was. I was kind of the old curmudgeon on some of that. But I very much agree that this is going to be a source of community pride, and the future certainly can look at fundraising. You can get enough cans and bottles at the collection point. If we go to that, to probably make it 10 times this. That's another discussion, our bottle bill. But the point I like about this a lot is our beginning, or not beginning, but rejuvenating our relationship with you and I, and having a collaborative with you and I, and where we're going to go with that in the future.
If I can speak to that quick, this wouldn't have been possible this year without you and I. We met with their team, facility staff, and at first they had some concerns. The Unidome facilities nearby, they're compared to when they were done, almost 10 years ago now. They've included more fields out there, turf, but they met with J&M. Within a week, they started working through their insurance to make sure they were covered there. So this wouldn't have been possible without you and I kind of being willing to step in and make sure that site could work. Because it's hard to find sites that work for fitting potentially thousands of people, as well as a fireworks show. So,
Yep. Is the 15,000 a set package of X number of, what if we raise 20? Do we get a bigger package, or are we just going to cap it at 15?
I think for this one would be capped only because they have to put in the order in advance. So once we do this, they'll get ordered on it. But so it's actually probably between the 15% and then we get some other small bonus for it. But in future years, we can kind of set what that bucket looks like. And we can still have some flexibility on deciding how long do we want the show? Do you want less time, a lot more fireworks going off versus longer one with less? But I think the package would be set at this point.
Okay, I was just curious.
Mr. Mayor.
We'll make the 15,000. I can assure that.
I'll throw in there too, if I may. Thank you. I think it's kind of neat. We have that 15% bonus that actually includes 108 additional shots. So the whole show is about 1,200 shots. And I believe that's a correct number from memory. I didn't add them all up right now, but we're also getting bonuses and things of that nature. I think it's going to be a good show. I think it'll be enjoyable. But as far as adding items to it, just because that'll be a next year bonus. If we discuss raising more than 15, it'd be great.
Mr. Mayor.
I hope we make it because there's a $30 fee on a bounce check.
Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Councilmember Schultz. Yes, Councilmember Dunn.
Okay, so one more thing is I want to point out that you, as the mayor, have chosen to do the work of getting this together. Mayors are very different, you know? So there's no guarantee that your predecessor? Yes, right? No.
Yep.
The next guy.
The next guy.
Or woman.
Or woman, or whoever. Successor, your successor, excuse me, would be doing the same thing. And I guess that's my main concern is unless I don't want to put any expectations unless we're going, because as we've said, we run a very lean city. Putting extra work on folks when we're already running really lean is a very big concern of mine. So again, I'm not anti-fireworks. I'm a fun girl. I appreciate what you've done, and I appreciate all the work that everyone's done. But these are concerns of mine, and I think they should be, I think we should all be thinking about that. So
City Administrator Gaines committed that he'll take over it after this year.
Okay.
Do you have a statement on that?
If that's what the council wishes, that's what I'll do.
Right answer. No, I am the believer too that anything that we do as a city should not be based on the mayor doing it. So I would like to, going forward beyond this year, have it be a committee that plans the event, that works on it, and make it more of a community initiative, not just one person push this through in a year. So I would like to, going forward, again, a shout out to anyone who's interested. We'd be looking to probably put together a planning committee to look at doing something with this. I know something we talked about a lot was, we're a city, but we want that small town feel. How do we get to having, a lot of towns have it, it's a whole day event. They've got food vendors, they've got bags tournaments, they've got all those things. We could look at those things, but for this year, just want to do a good fireworks show. But I agree with you, this should not be based on just assuming the mayor is going to be able to.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your initiative to get it going, and I think good things will come from it. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I actually completely understand where Councilmember Dunn's coming from, just in terms of staffing and lean and everything else. But I guess I would go back to the original item that we had already approved. I mean, we do have a letter of support here from Public Safety Director Birdie and Chief Slondek as well. So, I mean, it does sound, I don't want to speak out of turn, this is your guys' area, but do you have concerns with staffing this, keeping it a safe community event? I mean, are we?
No, we don't have any concerns. You know, the location really is a dream shot for us because that's a location that we're used to ingress and egress traffic flow. Obviously, you got parking for thousands of cars up there. And then the fire division several times a year inspects fireworks. So not a concern for us. And back in the 90s, there was on 12th Street, the city did used to have a big fireworks show with beer and food and all-day bands and things. So this is something we've done for decades.
So is that a commitment to public safety planning the fireworks event next year?
No, I'll commit. We'll put somebody on the committee.
There you go.
The question I have in that regard is that if someone pulls a permit for fireworks, and we're not paying for it, but they pull the permit, you're still going to have the same concerns for traffic and things like
Yes.
that, right? So,
And our fire division then goes out and inspects it. And, nobody cares more about fireworks safety than the people that shoot them off. So, but we've done that, at the Western Home through the years, downtown district. There's probably been a lot more fireworks show than you think of, when you start looking back 10, 20 years. So.
all right, okay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may. Yep. I think it's worth noting when we talked at goal setting about this, it was the consensus of council, not just one person going out and doing their whim. So I don't think the successor to the mayor's seat could do that without the direction of a majority of council at goal setting. Also worth noting, at goal setting, there used to be a public safety committee of which I was the chair and fully intended to have public discourse on this item. We also had committee meetings at a premium the early part of this year. So I don't think more dialogue than what you've had would have even been possible. So I guess I'd like to have us move towards voting on this item at this point.
I just have one last point.
Go for it.
This, just for
approval ID.
education with the citizens, this date is outside of personal fireworks use.
Correct.
This is strictly a
Yep.
display.
And we'll be kicking off a lot of our city marketing for the days that are available, what timeframes and everything this week. So we'll make sure that that's very clear on when that is, and this event is a separate thing.
Thanks.
All right, any other discussion from council? Or any from the public? Go on. Yeah, go ahead and come on up, just so people on the internets can hear it.
David Spicer, Cedar Falls. Comment again. Question that I had, I thought you said it's going to be the 27th of this year.
Correct.
Or
June 27th.
coming up this month, but thereafter, it'll probably be around the July 4th.
And I think we'll still kind of see where that plays out. Of
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it
what
is
I'm
a-
saying. So, I mean, you were saying it's going to be that way like forever, I got the impression, but I'm thinking that, yeah, this time of the year, it's just because of convenience. And the other thought I had was, we organized a lot of this stuff in Cedar Rapids, and because I help out in Cedar Rapids a lot, and I'm up here living in Cedar Falls, with different scouting groups, different high school groups, different UNI groups. They could also help with cleanup, like a volunteer. They earn awards, badges, ribbons, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just saying there's plenty of time between now and the 27th, a few phone calls. You could have an awful lot of volunteers out there afterwards. Kids would love to get out there and help clean up, and it would relieve a lot on the city. So, but as far as traffic control, that's a different story.
Don't give that to the kids?
Yeah, I wouldn't give that to the kids. They'd all just be saying, come this way, and you'd have accidents galore. So that was all I wanted to
Okay,
comment.
thank you, David. All right, any other public comment for tonight? All right, seeing none, then we need a voice vote this time. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, is this roll call?
Roll call.
Sorry. I've been gone for a few weeks. I'm apparently, roll call vote on this item, please.
Newfound empathy for that for you, Mr. Mayor.
Newfound.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So then we move to item number 21, resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement in support of Mercy One Cedar Falls Medical Center / Mercy One Cedar Falls Foundation relative to fiscal year 2025 Cedar Falls Health Trust Services funding. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion seconded.
Mr. Mayor, I actually asked to have this one pulled. I'm just abstaining from this one as a employee of that facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Lila. And any other discussion from council first on this item? All right, seeing none, council, or from the public, please. Just name and city, please.
Kim Jensen, Jordan, Cedar Falls. Relative to this, this goes back to past history with maintenance onto this property, and yet how the funding is generated out of that healthcare trust fund. There's been administrative loss, and I see it as city never knows when we're going to rebrand or when we're going to have a new healthcare system within the Sartori building. And yet the unelected CEO was consistent across the 4 different times that we went from Covenant to Wheaton Franciscan to Mercy One to Trinity. During that time, there was no discussions with the CEO and possibly the board to keep us an ICU unit or do maintenance on the roof or the air conditioning that's sitting over at Dr. Egan and Dr. Stanford's office. No one was really looking at the parking lot, and yet these health trust fund monies are given at about a 70% historic slot to Sartori Hospital. And when we talk about public donations and looking at how we're going to collect money to do this, it also, we can go ahead and we can try to do that, or we can try to set aside the right thing to do so that we make sure that we have good reputation and we're taking care of the people of all parts of this community. But I do know for a fact that many people that live in that area and in the north part of Cedar Falls really prefer to stay at that hospital. It's just that the services have been undermined constantly. And as I looked at the old building permit and the land use that was pulled by Mercy One, in 2018. The hospital at that point was going to be started with 20 beds, with 2 plots that are going to be for future expansion. So we currently have, again, that gem that just needs the federal funding. I can certainly help write grants, and I would love to do that to get money back in here, HVAC system, electrical, whatever it takes. But there has been nothing done, and it's got to be a communication of that CEO and potentially under unelected staff within our city. And that's why I am actually asking and begging that if there is anything that is remotely in existence to the plot that is on Blackhawk County Online and with changes that were made in 2023 for 12 different parcels in the front portion of that property, going from the Sartori Hospital of entrance coming up 6th to the U-turn coming out, just heading to the north of that frontage. It should never have even been plotted like that when we
Mr. Mayor, point
Yeah.
of order. I think we're straying far away from this consideration for money from the Health Trust Fund to the Between the Lines, Keep It Between the Lines program or
Well,
operating.
I was trying to pull it up and can ask, because so the item on the agenda is really looking at approving the foundation funding request. So I think if it's any comments about the hospital as a whole, that would need to wait till public comment. This would just be any comments on this specific item and the funding request that goes.
And I was just at Dr. Egan's office, and they were doing a CT scan, and I said, have you ever heard of anything of these keeping it within the line funds that are available at about $200,700? No. Walking over in Waterloo, machine, it's on Band-Aids. It's set up for routine maintenance, but it's not getting fixed. It's not a new one. So I'm really wondering if the Otto Schultz and the Joseph Sartori Foundation is looking specifically at these needs that we need in the hospital, but it's also 5 minutes is very short to really show the non-transparency of what we actually have going on here.
I can maybe talk with you more.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, a roll call vote, please, for item number 21.
Six voting aye, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move to item number 22, resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement in support of AccessLink/Together for Youth Coalition relative to the fiscal year 2025 Cedar Falls Health Trust Fund Services funding. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded, and discussion for whomever.
And Mr. Mayor, I pulled this one. I'll be short and brief here. I'll be voting against it on moral grounds.
Okay. Any other discussion from council? And any from the public? All right, seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Six voting aye, 1 voting in nay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Item number 28, a resolution supporting a workforce housing tax credit program application to be submitted to the Iowa Economic Development Authority by Garden City Commons, LLC, for workforce housing tax credits for the proposed housing project at 1924 to 2024 West 12th Street.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded.
Mr. Mayor, I asked for this one to be pulled. I think we kind of heard a bit of a preview of this earlier this evening during our work session. I know that the developer is here now as well, but I'm looking at the request that was included in here from the developer for the city, and it looks to be a fairly low amount, and really just in the conversation that we had in work session today, just what an exciting opportunity this could be in addressing some of our housing needs, and an opportunity for the city to really look at the way we're partnering with developers moving forward, I think is wonderful. So I fully intend to vote yes on this, but I just wanted to call out again that I think this is just a wonderful project, and kudos to all involved.
Thank you, Councilman Lada. Any other council discussion? As I said, we do have the developer in the room if anybody has any questions on the project. All right, seeing none, any discussion from the public? Just name and city, please.
Todd Pierce, 2118 West 12th Street. I see that I'm not sure what's going on. I live right next to this. I own 3 acres, I live in acreage. My property size is 3 acres, and everybody's land around there is normal size lots. To stick 175 right next to me, you guys want that in your area? I mean, that's crazy. I don't understand why I haven't been contacted from anybody from the city at all, especially since I own almost everything straight to the west of this. My driveway goes all the way up. It meets a frontage from 12th Street that comes down about 200 feet that I have maintained for close to 35 years because the city will not maintain that at all on my driveway, which is owned by the city. And I'm just flabbergasted that I heard this on the news last night, and I took the night off to make sure I came to find out what's going on. So I did get contacted by the developer probably a year ago before they started pulling all the trees down next to me, but that's all I've heard. So I have 4 neighbors right next to me. Well, I have 3. We have 3 vacant houses in the area, which I don't see the city doing anything about that either. It's kind of crazy. So it would be nice to have somebody come back and talk to us. It's, like I said, I've been there over 30 years in the back there. I built a house 25 years ago, and to send right next to me 175 units, can you imagine the traffic in your area? I know some of you live in some spots, you have trees there. Someone just come in and pull them all out and throw up 175 houses. Kind of crazy. I think my property is probably going to be devalued, let alone I see they want to put a street right through the front of my property. And basically I have right now, I have a lot of water come through from that area, flushes right through my area. I don't get any storm drainage fees coming from anybody, so the property's there, but yet it's draining on top of mine, and I see it's just gonna do a lot to my property that I have been there for a long period of time. So I urge somebody to come talk to me and take a look before you start, I don't know, putting 175 houses in an area that's just crazy. I lived over on Delta Drive before. Those lot sizes, we don't have that many houses on a lot. And if you tell me I can put 52 to 60 houses on my 3 acres, I guarantee nobody here is going to let me do that. So this is quite different than what we were planned on 35 years ago when I moved back in there. And I know things change, but that's a big change. I'm not living right in the UNI area, so I don't know why we're going to build such small houses anyway. So I'm just kind of confused what's going on. So please get in touch with me. Thank you.
And if I can quick, Ron, correct me on any of this. One, I don't think we've had any plats or final master plans or anything come through. This is kind of early on in the process because the developer is applying for workforce housing tax credits just preemptively to go for those, but there hasn't been an actual plan that's gone through plan and zoning council and everything yet. So that's likely why there's still a lot of process to go through before it gets to that point.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. So this, like you had mentioned, the workforce housing tax credit application is due coming up, I think, but before July 1. The developer is looking at getting that in. We, and the number of houses that he has there is off a concept plan. Any of those rezoning, platting, all of those still have to go through the process with planning and zoning and then city council. At that time, all of the neighbors would be notified.
Okay. So I think that might be part of it, is there's still a lot of the process to go through before it's even, and I don't know if the developer wants to come speak to it quick, if you'd like to, yeah.
Brian Wingert, 2110 Flynn Drive. with all due respect to Mr. Pierce, I get where he's coming from. I wouldn't want it there either. It's quite a bit less, I mean, it's a decent amount less than what he said. We have the ability by what the RP zoning would allow to do, I think, up to about 144. I don't think it's our intent to do that. This building that's on this resolution today allows us to really get density within this building, which allows us to provide and create more green space throughout the development. I did sit down with Mr. Pierce and his wife and some of the other neighbors on this same street prior to any real concepting of this site. So I really can't remember if I showed you a concept at that time or not. I thought I did. If I didn't, we didn't have anything in the works at that time. This is one of the few medium density residential zoned areas within our comprehensive plan. And so it's been approved for, I don't know how long ago that comprehensive plan was put together, but it's been quite some time, and the stuff to the east of them and to the west of them is in the medium density future land use map area. So when we bought this, it was our idea to get some affordable housing, workforce housing type units in there, whether it's townhomes, small single family houses, some vertical buildings that allow some rentals in there, as well as some of these being single family and or townhome owner occupied units. And so this is where we're at today, is that if you want affordable housing, it's going to have to be a dense area. And it's one of the few areas in Cedar Falls that we've got this pre-planned and pre-zoned for. It's not pre-zoned, excuse me. We do need to go through the zoning process. There'll be time to come and have conversations about that. But one thing he did mention on the stormwater is always a concern for everybody that's adjacent to these areas. We will be required to take all of our ground that we disturb and collect that and keep that on our site and make sure that that stormwater is actually going on to adjacent sites at a slower rate than it currently would be today. All that stuff's done by engineers. I don't know how they do it, but they do it for us. So we hope that it is a better product in that aspect for the neighbors of each site. And I'm happy to sit down with anybody, you guys as well, again, and kind of go over our plans. But I thought I did that at the beginning, and if I failed to do that to some other people, I really do apologize. It's tough. You get a lot of construction around you, yeah.
Because that total number is the number of units, not necessarily how many lots and houses will be
Correct.
built.
So let's just say the number was 100, and in this building that we plan and hope to have on the north side during the, closer to the busier street, 12th Street, if we got 48 units there and we were going to do 100 in total, that means the rest, if that takes an acre, that means the other 15 acres would house 52 units, and whether that's houses, townhomes, or whatever it may be.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Winger. Any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to speak to the concern about the houses that are abandoned or vacant, or I'm not entirely sure. I did just happen to drive down that road and very recently, and I reached out to Director Sheets and asked her team to please look into some of those houses to just make sure that if they're not meeting code, what's happening, if we can get more information. So someone is looking into that.
We will definitely make sure, too, when it gets to the point of any of the council conversations, plan and zoning, that the neighborhood does get the notifications.
And Mr. Mayor, I apologize if I wasn't more telling in the way. The reason I pulled that, again, I wasn't trying to put the cart ahead of the horse. That I recognize there's a lot more to go through here. Again, to Administrator Gaines' point, this was really more looking at the some of the funding requirements that are going to be required by July 1st. So.
Thank you, Tom.
And Mr. Mayor, since we're on that topic of cart before the horse, in future, we should pull items that are subsequent to that approval as well, for that, if there were any risk.
Oh, since
29 is already approved.
Yeah.
Point taken.
But.
Good point. Keep you around for a reason.
Do they?
Oh, we had discussions.
All right, any other discussion from the public? All right, seeing none, we'll look for a roll call vote on this number, item 28, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That moves us to item number 41, ordinances. Pass an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Animals of the Code of Ordinances relative to impoundment of dogs, cats, or poultry running at large, redemption of impounded animals, permitting dog, cat, or poultry to run at large, disposition of impoundment animals, and notice of destruction of an animal appeal upon its first consideration.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second, and we'll open it up for any council discussion. Kevin, can you put more big words in a single paragraph for me to read?
You want to send it back, I'll give it my best shot.
Challenge accepted?
All right, no council discussion? All right, move to any public discussion. All right, seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to bills and claims. So we have a motion to allow bills and claims for June 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion from council? Any from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council updates and announcements. Any council have any updates, announcements?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
One update, everybody make sure you go out and vote tomorrow. And I think that's about it for that side of things.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that.
I was thinking we were on to referrals already, I apologize.
I have one, I got married.
That's a good update.
Oh, congratulations again.
Thank you, that's a wonderful clap.
That was so like, I'd like to officially take this council update moment to advise the citizenry that our mayor is now officially Mr. Laudick. Every single got married. Applause, please.
I think it might have always been. I think I might have always been Mr. Laudick.
I know.
Just to clarify, but. All right, then move on to council referrals. Does council have any items for referral?
Mr. Mayor.
Pressing referrals.
Well, I tell you, this is with a hesitation, but I think at some point we need to address what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've been spoken to in regards to all-terrain vehicles, golf carts, gators, etc. Today I witnessed a golf cart going down South Main Street on the walking trail, and last weekend, I saw 2 gators that were not UNI gators going down College Street. So it's, I think at some point we need to address what our city position is going to be. And not just well, if we see it, we'll.
Mm-hmm. And Director Birdie just checked. Currently, by law, you cannot operate motor vehicle on any trail, sidewalk, or city streets if it's not a.
No, and we do enforce that law, and we've always had that where if people drive something on the streets they're not supposed to do, that we enforce the law, so.
Because Gil, is there something?
Do we have the option to allow it?
The city council does have the option to allow it.
That's what I'm speaking to.
So I think you're talking about doing a referral to have that discussion.
Mm-hmm. So I would say probably not pressing referral, but we can talk if it's something we want to put on agenda for.
Yeah.
And
I would second that if we need to.
well, I would say since we're not doing it as a pressing one,
Okay.
but I'll talk with you, Gil, on
Second
if
anyway.
it's something we want to.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Councilmember Schultz, would you consider it pressing, given what you witnessed recently in between the deadline for this meeting and this meeting? Or would you like to refer it for the next meeting, that we send it upward after that?
I'd say our first meeting, or actually the second meeting in July.
I mean, your referral. If it's ruled improper tonight, you'll need to refer it again at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Is that agreeable?
That's agreeable.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll talk with you too to see whether we're kind of looking for staff to put together, if it's just clarifying the ordinance or if you want to change to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I have one that I have deemed as a pressing referral, just given the gentleman that spoke tonight in public comment about the EMC risk management process. So I'd like to refer as a pressing item to community of the whole discussion on our EMC risk management process and the decision body for those insurance claims within the city, as we have a recent storm.
Okay, so just want to clarify just for everyone listening, EMC management, risk management?
I believe it's EMC risk management is our contracted. Correct me if I'm wrong.
The contact came from Travelers, our liability insurance carrier.
Okay. Less pressing then, I'll send an email later.
Okay. All right, any other council referrals for this evening? Are you wanting to refer something with our?
I was just gonna, maybe I should have done announcements.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll move on to any other council referrals? Seeing none announcements.
I'll let you.
Just because I know this is likely to come up in public discussion. So with Searly Roundabout is now going to be getting some new construction done for finishing that up. I believe we'll probably get some questions for where Wiley the Coyote has gone. You can see back here in the background, Wiley Coyote has been apprehended. He is in custody, and
Kim's good this way.
So if anyone's looking for Wiley the Coyote, he is safe.
In good hands. Use it again if need be.
I'm sure plenty of people have driven by Searly and wondered where that was. So, all right, any other council not referrals, announcements? Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
We'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.